The principle of the cross and resurrection to me, as a believer. And no one standing around that day said, what's going on here is good. Just the same that no one was stood around that tornado that day that I walked on the scene at ground zero. I couldn't see very little good here, and would see glimpses of that one little closet with the little girl's clothes still hanging on those hangers. That was saved, that kind of thing. So it's kind of the think in perspective, and the perspective, you don't get it all till time goes on.
On that theme of faith, did you ever feel challenged in the context of Joplin? When the destruction was just mind-boggling.
It was mind-boggling.
I mean, did you ever wonder, like, God, what in the, like, literally speaking to God, God, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
On here.
Yeah. I think that I've always felt that called, in a sense, to this. I believe that when Jesus was described as a wonderful counselor, it's not by accident. And, and that was a long, long time ago before he ever walked the earth. Mm-hmm. And so I found that to be true, that God is a much better caretaker than I ever will be. That he has much more compassion for those that hurt than I ever will. And so I think if I can kind of slip on his sandals for a little bit, that's kind of what I'd probably experience, would be walking through and firsthand sitting with those that hurt, and trying to create hope for them tomorrow, that they will have a new possibility of a new life tomorrow, that kind of thing. And so, so I really I don't really sort of question it in a sense, sovereignty, of God. I believe the sovereignty of God helps me relax a lot, knowing that even though I'm seeing a lot of disaster, knowing what's going on in this world today, God still is awake, and God still is alive, and God still has as much hurt and pain as what I do when I'm watching this go on. Sometimes it's a tragic experience that is used in such a way that I become a different person. You cannot not be changed.
How did the experience with Joplin change you?
I think maybe, I'm not sure. I know that some of the profs that I took with me out of the counseling department, one of them, a few years later, called me up and said, "Hey man, I just used your debriefing materials that you used back when we went to Joplin." And he goes, I thought I'd call and tell you, you need to do this. And so he was kind of pointing out that I think you were made for this. So I think the other thing that just personally, so the year anniversary was 2012, May 22nd, 2012. And on February the 28th of 2012, I lost a grandson. My grandson died unexpectedly. It wasn't SIDS. He was too old for SIDS. It's kind of a new syndrome. Well, Freeman was doing a year anniversary, and they were the ones kind of heading up this after a year later. in Joplin. So they called me. The vice president at the hospital called me and said, John, can you come to the year anniversary? And so I had to, tearfully tell them, actually, I can't. I've just gone through my own tragedy. Even though it was somewhat removed, we had not even buried Tucker yet because they were doing an autopsy on him. So it took a little bit longer and that kind of thing. So friends of mine from Texas came down and stayed with us for 2 weeks and until all that. But that then caused me to miss the year anniversary with Joplin, or I would have been there at that as well. And so I would say that there are a couple of people I wouldn't mind seeing again, though. And that's kind of crossed my mind of going back to the elderly lady, see if she's still alive, see if she's still married. Going back to the chaplain that just, so it's kind of like a kindred. There's a bit of a kindredness, I know people, through the tragedies, that we kind of walk through a little bit together. And so there's a bit of satisfaction and joy in that, and maybe not able to still remember their names. But I think all of those experiences have kind of helped me along life's road too. I've got a close friend that's got cancer in the liver, and so he's in Texas, and we talk to each other on a regular basis. I got 2 friends that don't have any family members alive. So I think, in a way, all of that just kind of keeps adding to my sort of my compassion quotient. Yeah. And I think that I've actually become a better clinician, not because someone once asked me, are you a better clinician since you got your doctorate? So actually, no, I'm a worse clinician since I got my doctorate in it. And so, but I think going through your own sets of grief and things like that, loss, etc., makes you a lot better clinician. So, informal training.
The phrase I have in my mind is the fellowship of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact Jesus was a man of sorrows. And that says a lot. That who would he be with? Who would he sit with? Who would he take his time with?
Tucker was your grandson?
Yeah, we put him down for a nap, and he never woke up. Wasn't sick or anything. Anyway, the school was kind enough to, we were in the middle of building a play therapy, which is where now the faculty are located on the edge of the campus. And so right before you walk into the counseling suites, play therapy suites, his name's above that, Tucker Hill, play therapy suites. And then in every room of the suites, I hope they're still there, but there's a emblem, kind of a memorial to Tucker that's either on the wall or on one of the desks, et cetera. That's something that was and allowed us to place in every room.
I'm reluctant to ask this question, but I hope you'll hear it in the spirit in which I intend. You mentioned this house across the street from Roberts, where the little one. Do you know? Did you have any idea of how old that child was who was lost in the tornado?
No, but I wouldn't think that. I would say probably a young child. So, but I wasn't sure of the age.
You described Tucker goes to sleep and never wakes up.
Yeah.
This Joplin, I mean, this tornado in Joplin, there was some warning, but I think for a lot of people, we have warnings all the time and whatever, but this one was real. And that child, goes missing, but it then is eventually found. Suppose the parents of that child, stumbled across this discussion someday in the future. What would you want to say to them?
I would hope, that I would hope that, because I think that there were other children in the home, and that this was, I think that if I remember this right, this was the youngest. And so I guess my thoughts is that, let me just speak for myself. A year and a half later, I get a call from my daughter who lost Tucker, and Tucker was their only child at the time. And in fact, I'm driving to Little Rock, and Amy calls and says, "Dad, guess what?" And I said, "You're having twins." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "How did you know?" And I said, "I didn't know." And she goes, "I am. And they're identical twins," which then the doctor described to her how much of a miracle identicals are, and that there's still a mystery actually to us. And that twins follow in family, but not identicals. And so that they're a unique, and I said, God is pretty good. I just think he's pretty cool. And she goes, "Me too." So I think perspective on that is one of the mistakes we see after the loss of a child, is to have another one and you celebrate the one that was lost through that one, and then you miss who they are. You understand? And that would be something probably I would just say, man, celebrate. If you're going to have any more children, celebrate those children and for who they are.